Buenos dias, all my beautiful amigos out there in the world. Thank you for joining me here on this channel while I'm still in beautiful Costa Rica for the next few days. We're here studying the lessons of A Course in Miracles, my well-traveled book. I should get a passport for the course here. We've been everywhere with this thing, and we're going to continue to travel this year. I do want to say thank you so much to those beautiful beings who joined in our ASIM meetup group last night. Some serious heartfelt sharing took place and some wonderful support, and it just felt so good to be in this community and meet Zoom face-to-face with people. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you. I treasure those moments. It was amazing for me, and I hope that you got something out of it. So today we're going to be doing 2 more review lessons. We're doing lesson number 87, and I had a pretty interesting meditation with this one too, so I'm looking forward to sharing that with you. All right, let's go ahead. Oh, before I continue on, I'm on day 5 of my refeeding process here after my 21-day water fast. I'm feeling amazing. Not 100% of my energy is back yet, but I'm sure by the time I leave Saturday morning, I will be feeling better than ever. Always sipping water now. I definitely have prioritized that in my life as a takeaway. Gonna be drinking a lot more water. Stay hydrated. And I hope that you do too. All right, so lesson number 87, first lesson for review. I will there be light. I will use the power of my will today. It is not my will to grope about in darkness, fearful of shadows and afraid of things unseen and unreal. Light shall be my guide today. I will follow it where it leads me, and I will look only on it when it shows me. This day I will experience the peace of true perception. These forms of this idea would be helpful for specific applications. This, whatever the situation is, person, place, thing, this cannot hide the light I will to see. You stand with me in the light, person in your mind, special person, whoever that is. In the light, this will look different. All right, second lesson for review. There is no will but God's. I am safe today because there is no will but God's. I can become afraid only when I believe there is another will. I try to attack only when I am afraid, and only when I try to attack can I believe that my eternal safety is threatened. Today I will recognize that all this has not occurred. I am safe because there is no will but God's. These are some useful forms for this idea for specific applications. Let me perceive this in accordance with the will of God. It is God's will, you are his son, person, and mine as well. This is part of God's will for me, however I may see it. So the interesting thing about the examples here that caught my eye this morning was, it is God's will, you are his son, whoever the person is, right? And mine as well. And that really took me to a place of putting myself in that role of fully actualized God in me, where I actually see other people as my child instead of my burden or my annoyance or my, oh, I want to avoid that person because they make me feel bad about myself or they trigger me. You know, if we start not only reparenting ourselves, but feeling this parental sort of nurturing lovingness towards others, I think they could shift things in the moment. Haven't had an experience yet with that. I'm just reading this now today, but that just really tweaks something in my mind, like, oh, I could be this person's godmother, you know, instead of the recipient of this person's whatever. Okay, so when I got into the meditation space today, I will there be light is the first lesson we looked at here. And I do love how they kind of fit together. So it was another thing where it felt like kind of sequential, how it just worked together. And I went to my hometown. I grew up in Bel Air, Maryland. And there's a place in my town that used to all be a farmland, and there was a cow named Bessie. We all remember this cow. Those of us who we all went to high school together. I graduated in 1996, so back in the 80s, there was a cow named Bessie in this big area in Bel Air. Well, now it's I mean, like, my gosh, the popular of my hometown is, or the population has probably quadrupled, and there's stores everywhere. So what came to me was, first of all, the awareness that our towns and cities are becoming the marketplace, which is a place where all of your ego's temptations, cravings, stimulants, and all the things that are going to take you away from your path and pull your attention away from your salvation and God and your spiritual practice. All that stuff exists in towns and cities now. Let's face it. You know, the liquor stores, the coffee shops, the fast food restaurants, the many, many restaurants that are just like filling you full of food that just isn't ideal for your best health. All these temptations to shop your face off. I mean, how many people have shopping problems? Right? So, and then of course, like many, many churches, and it seems like lots of different options for spirituality now. But even that, I feel like, is a shadow aspect of the ego, just saying, please look at this instead of looking inward and looking toward your salvation, your one true path back home to God, solving the problem of separation. I think that's what cities and towns do in large part. There's a lot of great things too, a lot of community, a lot of gatherings and art, and there's lots and lots of good to glean. However, it's mixed in there with a lot of stuff that I think is kind of designed by our egos when we create our illusory dream to distract us. So anyway, in the meditation, what I saw was like this ability that I am gaining or will gain or have already and just have forgotten about, to phase in and phase out of that reality. So it went from seeing it as it is now with all those stores to phasing back to, there's a farm and Bessie was on it, and then there was like kind of something in between. So it was just really interesting to be able to know, okay, when I drive into these places and I start feeling my stomach growling or my attention, my eyes are drawn to certain things, I know it's all kind of designed by the ego on purpose. Yet I can still remember that this is all just made up fun. I can find other things to do. I can go take a glass of water and go to a park instead of getting a venti coffee and going shopping, or whatever it is that like meets all of your super decadent cravings and desires. So it was just this like phasing in and out of what it used to be, what it is, and how time doesn't really exist, and all of this evolutionary stuff is imaginary. Also, I think it brought up in me the illusion of modernity. And I just finished reading the book, The Fifth Agreement, which is the sequel to the Four Agreements. And this whole concept of humans have been domesticated. Well, we've been so domesticated away from nature that we're just, these things are just common to us. When you drive into a city or town, you look for your certain stores that you like. You look for certain brands of products that you like, because we're so domesticated that we're just so, we don't even have the ability to be like creative and open to new things anymore, because we want what we want and we're kind of like pains in the asses about it, and that's it. So this over domestication of the human being isn't evolution in a positive way, I don't think. Yes, there are interesting technological advancements, and like I said, there's still gatherings of like-minded people doing beautiful things together, but something is shifting us away from our true nature, and I don't think it's in our best interest. So yeah, that was kind of the beginning of it. And then with the second lesson, there is no will but God's, it's not like we have to go back to the farm with Bessie on it. It's just a cow and that's all we have. But there's something about valuing stillness and emptiness, and valuing the fact that, the more that there is, the more likely you are to get attached to it. So having a way to be healthy and pull yourself away from these overly domesticated, convenient, decadent, cushy, modern things, and just really vibe with nature. Just really get with a tree or a flower or something and remind yourself that you're on a different frequency than all these things, all this modernity, what's in the cities, and that the will of God is within it's within you. Obviously, your inner altar is where you hold that light and that true connection, that silver cord. I think it hooks in somewhere in our, being that's more of a heart center. But that's who you truly are. That's God's will. We can have fun and play and enjoy all these things as long as we don't allow ourselves to get too attached, too addicted, lose our minds, start, just developing these terrible habits and treating people unkindly. That's the will of God, is to, while you're here, we might as well play along with the dream. While you're here, just remember that all those temptations and all those treats and everything, that's the ego. So speaking of the will of God, I thought, again, we talked about this last night during our ASIM meetup, about the traits or the characteristics of teachers of God. And I just want to read through them really quickly, and I definitely recommend chapter 4 in the Manual for Teachers for everyone to read. It's an excellent explanation of what all these words mean, but these are the things I want to embody rather than being so tough or being cynical or being like, street smart or all these things that I used to think of as like compliments. It's like, no. Now I want to be known for someone who has the following characteristics, who really embodies them and inspires other people to bring them out in themselves. So the first one is trust. The teachers of God have trust in the world because they have learned it is not governed by the laws the world made up. It goes into more of that, and then there's this excellent section, the development of trust, basically talks about how as you become a Course in Miracles student, you're going to go through all these periods in your journey where things are going to feel like, oh, I'm getting it, and then boom, then the bottom falls out of your life. All this stuff happens at one time. You feel like, what happened? Am I a bad Course in Miracles student? Is God punishing me? Yada, yada, yada. And then you come back out of that, and then boom, you hit again. And then finally, you kind of level off. So you go through these periods, and then the last one is called the period of achievement, which is where things sort of stabilize for you. But the development of trust, I think, is testing your faith, because as you go through these problems, are you going to start to go back to trusting the ego, or are you going to stay with God and have a positive outlook about what's happening and say, there's something I can learn from my experiences here. There's a lesson for me. Ooh, I know it's not easy. All right, the second characteristic is honesty. Honesty does not apply only to what you say. The term actually means consistency. I would also add congruency. So being honest is being who you really are. And if that means that you have to say things that might trigger people or upset them or hurt their feelings, as long as you're coming from a place of love and compassion, you can say whatever you want. Remember, this whole thing is an illusory experience, an experiment in humanity. Try it. If you do something that you feel bad about, well, apologize, but be honest. Be honest. Tolerance. I don't think I have to get too much into that. This is when you're noticing yourself being intolerant and saying, oh, hang on. I don't want to project that anymore. I know it's really about me, and I want to be tolerant. Some kind of correction like that should be good. Gentleness. That's one. I definitely think gentleness starts with self, which for a lot of us is not very easy because we're used to being hard on ourselves. But gentleness is a quality that is so strong, particularly when we can be gentle in front of other people that expect you to be abrasive. Joy. How about that? Be freaking happy. We're here. We came here for a reason. Our soul had a major intention for our lifetime, and we are here and we are doing it. So let's be happy. Defenselessness. Oh, this is a good one. So good. There's no reason for you to defend yourself ever. You have to approach things as if everything's already solved. It's already taken care of. You just have to kind of walk your way through whatever the challenge or issue or discussion is, but without defending yourself, defending your ego. That's usually what it is. Your big self doesn't ever need to be defended. It's truth. It just is what it is. Generosity. How generous are you? Let's see, I highlighted something here. To the world, generosity means giving away in the sense of giving up. To the teachers of God, it means giving away in order to keep. So that's another thing that incorporates having faith and knowing that you've already been given everything you need, and now it's just up to you to move those little pieces around the board and figure out how to have a generous heart. Maybe you don't have physical things to give, but you can always give your time. You can always smile. You can always love someone, even if they don't see you or you're not doing it in person. Your generosity matters on any level, anytime. Patience. I mean, this is one that's been huge, huge, huge for me. I love the first sentence of this. Those who are certain of the outcome can afford to wait, and wait without anxiety. Yeah, patience. And this could be, I'm going to have an airplane ride coming up here soon, and I'm going to be heading to the airport, and I have to trust that all the plans that I've made to get myself there on time are going to work and not have anxiety. Literally release my attachment to worrying that I need to manipulate and control the situation in order to get an outcome. No, I'm working on this, but it's God's will is happening, and I'm just walking along these footsteps. So I'm going to have patience. And the last one is faithfulness. To give up all problems to one answer is to reverse the thinking of the world entirely. So having faith reverses the thinking of the world. And that alone is faithfulness. So there you have it. Those are the things I wanted to highlight today. The other last thing I wanted to say with I will there be light, I also like to interchange that and say I will there be truth. And I think that's when I started getting that phasing in and phasing out of my hometown, because the truth wasn't what it had become. It was really something more than that, something more beautiful and more peaceful. So that's a little fun game that you can play. And don't forget, that you are the parental figure of someone who is right now a person that you have a grievance with or a resentment with. All right, so when it comes to the refeed process, we're eating 4 times a day, 9, 12, 3, and 6. Our portions are just getting larger and larger. I think in part to help us remove the old waste. I'm still having these bowel movements that are like only small amounts. It's like sandpaper covered nuggets. It's interesting and weird and strange. And and the thing yesterday was there were 2 worms. One of them was alive in this bowel movement that I had. And it was just a little guy. It was just like the size of the tip of my thumb, maybe like, angel hair pasta width. But I saw him moving around in the toilet. I thought, oh my God, I got parasites inside of me. What else is in there? It's amazing. And all I'm doing, I didn't have any food for 21 days, just drank water. And now I'm only eating fruit. So far, it's only been fruit. So think about how powerful nature is. I'm not taking any medicines. I'm not treating any symptoms that I may have during the refeeding process. Just walking the path, dealing with it, having some water, hugging all my new friends and supporting each other. And obviously studying the course. So I think that I'm discovering a formula for life that is putting itself together in my little head, and I'll share with you as much as I can, as often as I can. And I love you. Thanks for being here. Enjoy your lessons today and be those characteristics of the teacher of God. Keep trying that on. I think, you guys, that is going to be our new way of being in this new world. Whatever the new situations are, the new challenges we're faced with, we are going to have much more success if we can really put on those characteristics of teachers of God. Thank you for joining me. Much love to all of you out there, and I'll see you back here again tomorrow.